A good analogy on why quantum computers are so fragile is you can kind of think of it as like an egg on a spoon. You've got your spoon outside the car window and you're driving 60 miles per hour.
So in classical computing, we have bits. They can take values of 0 or 1. You can think about them as arrows pointing to the north or the south pole, let's say, of the Earth. Now, a qubit or a quantum bit can take values in any combination of 0 and 1. So you can think of them as arrows that can point in any direction within that sphere. Quantum chips are fragile and difficult to control simply due to device variability, and secondly, what you're trying to do with them. So if we think about Schrodinger's cat, the analogy of what it is like to basically be a qubit, or the thought experiment of which many people know of quantum mechanics, is when you're building a quantum computer and you're building it out of these qubits, quantum bits, you can think of them as almost trying to keep the box of Schrodinger's cat closed while you're able to also control the state and the being of that cat.
Often what most PhD students spend a lot of their PhD doing is just tuning up a quantum computer. There's not a lot of science in it. It's very methodical, but for us to have a large-scale quantum computer, we need to solve this calibration problem at scale.
This is why our control software is so important to scaling these devices to building a useful quantum computer. Without it, it just simply isn't possible. We can't really get 1 billion or 1 million researchers in a room twiddling voltage dials. That's just clearly not a scalable way to build the future of computing for humanity.
These chips are super fragile, so you do want to be careful with them. The whole experiment thing, it was many weeks of stress, working hard and trying to control qubits or electrons inside a very small nanometer-sized device that's very sensitive to the outside world and can break at any moment. We like to think of ourselves as a company that makes software for quantum computers, and that really starts with the BIOS and operating system. It's an analog to like a bootloader or a Windows operating system.
What our software does is it creates clarity for the quantum engineer.
We were able to replicate it across 64 different devices in a day. Ray had come from SpaceX and he was able to tune up more devices than most esteemed professors have ever done in our field.
This allows a speed up improvement of hours to days for the quantum engineer, who would historically have to write and rewrite their code over and over again.
When quantum computers were first hypothesized by Richard Feynman way back when in the 1980s, he mainly saw them as a tool for simulating quantum physics, and that's really what got me into physics, was this idea that I can understand the world in a way that, I couldn't before or no one could.
My mom was a perfectionist. I grew up working at her first company, which was making orange juice. And I think I kind of carried that through my childhood and now into adulthood.
At SpaceX, I worked on both automation and simulation software that was used to model the entirety of Starship and Falcon 9 reusable rockets. We share a passion in science and quantum computing, but also because we share a passion in music. And you can really see their passion in music and quantum computing come together when we're deciding about and talking about through different product ideas. From Stanza, our control software, all the way to our new product.
Something we care really deeply about as a company is moving as quickly as possible. That's why we've flown all the way out to Chicago to measure our first quantum chip provided by SemiQon. With the help of MHub and Blueforce, we were able to set up a lab in days, not weeks. We're opening a fridge that has been closed for 2 months. We calibrated 128 double quantum dots in less than an hour on average, completely automatically from scratch, using our software. A double quantum dot is the precursor to forming a qubit. Human experts may take hours, in many cases days if not weeks, to achieve what we have done using our software. We see a future where there's a world in which quantum computers can fit into small boxes, the same way you can access the world's largest language models just from logging onto a website and away you go.
You can think of simulating how drugs interact with DNA. If we can solve that, it might relieve a lot of pain for a lot of people.
Drug discovery, molecule analysis, and material science will be greatly and vastly improved. We essentially have the ability to take working code or natural language and turn it into simulations of molecules at the most fundamental level.
In San Francisco, someone's talking about like how they're building some form of AGI. You think there's no better place to be to try and build the future?